welcome back to my channel. Thank you for watching. So today I'm going to be showing you kind of my updated foundation routine and how I get really long wearing foundation. I've kind of had to revamp my routine a little bit from my last video that I did on my foundation and concealing routine, because the products that I was taking with to kind of help with my acne and stuff was really making my face just incredibly oily. It was really difficult to get foundation to wear all day, because I mean, it's like I'd put it on and look good, and then an hour later I'd look in the mirror, it's just like so oily. And so I've really had to play around with a lot of different products and with the different techniques and stuff to get to this routine that I have now that I absolutely love. I mean, I feel like now, if I do all these steps and stuff that I'm about to show you, that I can get my foundation to look exactly the same from when I put it on to when I come home at night and wash it off. And that is the goal. I mean, that's the goal. You want it to stay in place and locked in tight all day, and just how you leave in the morning, that's how you want it to look at the end of the day. You don't have to be worrying about it, looking in the mirror every hour or whatever to make sure it still looks okay. You don't want that. So I finally got just my really winning combo for my skin and for what's going on with me right now. This is really great for if you do have oily skin. Obviously, if you have not as oily of skin, or if you have different skin types, whatever, you can kind of tailor this to your own. But anyways, these are just products and techniques that are working for me right now. So if you're interested in watching, then we can go ahead and get started. Thanks. Okay, so the first thing that I do is, so far I've put on my moisturizer, and I like to put that on maybe 10 to 15 minutes before I'm going to start working on my face, and that way it can really kind of sink in. And so then the next thing I do for when I'm really trying to get a long-wearing, flawless foundation look is, this might seem crazy, but this works as a really great primer, and this is the Nivea Men Sensitive Cooling Post-Shave Balm for Sensitive Skin. Kind of a mouthful. And I'll just kind of show you how it comes out. It comes out kind of like a watery moisturizer type consistency. And so then I just get that. And this, it smells like a really good man's cologne, which, I don't know, I think it smells good, but you really don't smell it for that long, so you're not like gonna be walking around smelling like a man all day or anything like that. And I really like this because it really helps hold your makeup on, and also because it's like a post-shave balm. It's really supposed to kind of take down your redness, and it's just supposed to kind of help your skin like not have any inflammation or any redness or anything like that. So it's a really great product, and it's really cheap. It's only like $5 at Walmart or wherever you go grocery shop. Okay, so then my next thing that I use is an e.l.f. primer. I use an actual makeup primer. This one I'm using today is the Blemish Control Face Primer, because I do kind of have some blemishes going on right now, so I like to use this one. Another one though that I really like is the Poreless Face Primer. And these are $6. I absolutely love these primers. I go back to them over and over and over because they're my favorite primers. So anyways, I'm just going to use one pump, well, maybe 1.5 pumps of this, and just kind of smooth this over all of my skin. And then once you have those, you've got a really nice canvas to put your face on. It's moisturized, it's going to keep your foundation on, because foundation does not look good over dry, flaky skin. So the best your foundation's ever going to look is when your skin is just like the most plump and moisturized, and the best kind of base that you can give it. So that's why I like to use a lot of products, a lot of things that are going to be great for kind of keeping the redness down and keeping your makeup on and all those things. So I really like to kind of take my time and do those few extra little steps and put those products on, because I do feel like they make a big difference. So then when I'm going to go for my most long-wearing foundation, I always go for the Revlon Color Stay. This is one of my absolute tried and true all-time favorite drugstore foundations. This is in the normal to dry skin 240 medium beige. Usually I actually like to get normal to oily skin, but oh well. So then I'm just going to put some onto my hand. Okay, and I'm going to clip my hair out of the way for this part. Okay, now my hair's out of the way. So then I like to go in with a foundation brush first. This is the Morphe G6 brush. It's just a really dense brush. And then I just like to pick some up off my hand and just stipple it all over my face. I like to use a brush first because a brush will give the most coverage. Which, as you can see, today I am needing some coverage. And I always like to start off with doing just kind of one layer and just kind of seeing what that covers. and then I can kind of spot treat from there. Because you don't need thick layered foundation all over your entire face. Okay, so then once I have that first layer, it's just kind of a thin layer all over my face, then at that point I go through and I look and I see what I can still see that I don't want to see. And at that point I still have some of that extra foundation on my hand, and I have a dampened beauty sponge. This is the Real Technique sponge. And I just get a little bit on that sponge, and I can just kind of dab that right over the places that I would like a little bit of extra coverage. And the reason that I do this with a sponge is because a sponge will pick up any of the excess product, but also it can, I mean, just kind of concentrate it right into that little area that you need it, and it'll blend it in for you. And then by doing just that, kind of that trick alone with using the foundation brush and then the sponge, I didn't even have to use concealer to cover up any of those blemishes. They just kind of covered. I didn't have to put on tons of extra foundation. So anyways, always start off with just one layer of foundation, see what that covers, and then kind of go back in and spot treat from there with however you need to. Okay, so the next thing is after my sponge is pretty much, I got all like the foundation that I got off of my hand and I've rubbed that in. So this is pretty much clean right now. Then I like to go over and just kind of pat everywhere. And what this is gonna do is, like I said, it's gonna pick up the excess product and a lot of the excess like foundation oil and kind of anything like that. So it's gonna make when you put your powder on, it's gonna look a lot less cakey because it's not sitting on so much foundation. This kind of gets off just like the excess like moisture, or I don't know what word exactly to call it, but it just kind of will push that foundation into your skin so that your powder will lay over it really nice. Okay, so once that's done, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight under my eyes, and I'm going to use the Rimmel, what is this called? Match Perfection Under Eye 2-in-1 Concealer. It looks just like this, and this is in the color 125 Fair. And I'm going to do, and I'm sure you've seen this all over just the internet and everywhere, but I'm going to do kind of this triangle formation. And I'm concentrating most of the product right under there, which is where I want kind of that most brightness, and then I'm just kind of fanning it out from there. Yes, I know this looks like a lot of concealer, but this is a really lightweight concealer, so it blends out really just easily and thin. And then at this point, if you want to conceal and highlight more places, you can do that too. I really like to highlight kind of right under where my contour is going to be, so sometimes I put some right there. It looks really nice to highlight right down your nose, and that will kind of give it a straight appearance. And then and then a little bit up on the forehead. So these are optional, but I'm just showing you kind of places that you can highlight if you are kind of going all out and want to look really highlighted and kind of just perfected. Okay, so then I'm just going to blend in using that sponge. And again, this takes off any excess product and will just leave you with a really pretty finished blended result. If you just set with a powder right on top of like really thick, heavy foundation or concealer, that's when your foundation and your makeup can kind of look cakey. And also it won't last as long kind of during the day because it's just so much product it like starts to kind of slough off and move around and stuff. Okay, so once I've kind of got all that excess off and it's just kind of ready for powder now, I'm going to use the Airspun Loose Face Powder. I've heard that they have this at Walmart. I've had a hard time finding it at Walmart, but they do have it at Kmart, so if you're still by a Kmart, I mean, there are places you can get it. So anyways, this is one of my favorite drugstore powders. And this is the Coty, what's it called? The Coty Airspun Loose Face Powder, and it looks like this. This is in the translucent extra coverage finish. And what I'm going to do is first of all set under my eyes. If you have dry skin, you might not need to set like your whole face, but pretty much everyone needs to set under their eyes if they put concealer under there, because that will crease if you don't set it. So, and I'm going to do the technique called baking. You've probably heard about it. And what that is basically you put on a lot of excess powder right there, and then you leave it on for like however long, and then just sweep away the extra, and that's really going to help with giving that a full all day coverage. So I'll show you how I like to bake my eyes. So I like to get a large amount of that powder on that sponge, And then I look up and I put as much as I can get on right there. And like I said, it's way too much, and that's how it's supposed to be. We're gonna sweep off the extra. But baking, for me personally, I have found really makes my concealer just stay looking perfect all day long. In the under eye area, it just makes it look like it doesn't let it crease, and it just keeps it looking really flawless all day. So I just kind of pack as much on as I can with that sponge, and then I'm going to give that just a minute. And while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to set the rest of my face. So I just kind of put that powder in the lid, and then I have really been loving this brush. This is the Expert Kabuki brush from Icing. I really love just the handle and the shape and everything. So then I just put a little bit on here, and I'm going to set the rest of my face. Also, when you have blemishes that you are trying to cover, it's a good idea to put some powder just specifically right on them, instead of just kind of like going over your whole face with a makeup brush, because sometimes that'll kind of move where you put like that extra coverage with your foundation and stuff. So you want to kind of concentrate just on those areas first. So I'm kind of just going over the areas where I had blemishes and just kind of giving them some of that extra powder so that they'll get a little bit of extra coverage. And then as you can see, it's kind of just all over right now. So then I'm going to go in again with just with that powder and kind of just pat and sweep it on so that everything gets set. Because I have really oily skin, and so by doing this, this keeps my foundation looking kind of matte all day long, which is what I want. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and sweep off any of the extra powder that's under my eyes. And I've talked about this before, but I always like to kind of blend things out with other things. So instead of just going in with a clean brush, I'm going to grab a little bit of a highlighting powder to kind of sweep off the extra. I know that sounds kind of backwards, but it's just what works for me. So I'm using my Shade and Light palette, and I'm just going to use kind of a combination of those three top colors and just kind of sweep off any of that extra that was left on when I was baking. It's just going to really give a lot of just brightness and kind of open up that whole eye area. Okay, so that's kind of how I get a really just flawless base, and then at this point I'll go in and I will do some bronzing, Okay, so that's the steps that I take to get a really kind of flawless base to work with. And then once everything is really set and just like smooth on your face, it's going to make your bronzing and your contour and your blush and all those powders that you're going to put on just go on really smooth and just blend out really seamlessly and all of that. So I really love using these products. Specifically, I've just found exactly kind of what works for me if I want a really flawless and long-wearing foundation. Is kind of using all of these steps that I've showed you and doing these products. So anyways, this is the routine that I'm loving right now. I'm going to go ahead and kind of bronze and contour, and I'll just zoom through this. You've seen me do videos on this, so I'll just I'll kind of zoom through this part, and I'll show you how I finish off my look.
If anybody wants to find me, I'll be in the last place you would look. In a place where people used to be, a land that's called reality, you'll find me there. I won't be catching up on Reddit. I won't be watching any news. I'll let the planet spin without me, 'cause everything has been without me sometime. And everyone will be alright if I'm not live by satellite. It's a beautiful day, I'm running away. Don't bother to Facebook, message or call me, 'cause I'm living life in airplane mode and everything is okay. I just wanna play, unplug for the day and live in the moment, 'cause I'm living life in airplane mode, yeah. I'm always drowning in the static. I'd rather swim in crystal seas. My battery's been running
the rest of my face is on. The very last step that I do, and this really helps just lock everything in, including all your foundation, is I use my e.l.f. Makeup Mist and Set with aloe, green tea, cucumber, vitamins A, C, and E. And this really is, I mean, it's full of great things for your skin, and it just really locks everything into place. So I shake it up and give a generous layer of that. And those are the steps that I take to kind of get a flawless foundation routine. So I hope you have maybe learned something from this video. Try it out. If you do try any of these products, let me know. I'd love to see how they worked out for you. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!